Thomas Nout was a well-nourished man of 54 years of age.
He was in good health?
Perfectly good. The cause of death was a shotgun wound in the chest. There was a narrow area of dispersal which led me to believe that the gun had been fired at extremely close quarters. He was shot by his own gun. It was clearly an accident. I saw the body at the site. The path was rough and overgrown. The dead man's trousers were muddy, as though he had fallen to his knees. I think he may have been shooting in the dark.
Shooting in the dark?
I'm afraid so.
So you believe it was accidental death while shooting in the dark?
That was my conclusion.
I went down to St. James Infirmary, saw my baby there, stretched on a long white table, so sweet, so cold, so bare. Let her go, God bless her, wherever she
Accident.
may be.
Of course he said it was an accident. But a doctor would say that, wouldn't he? I can't see old Tom Nout shooting anything by accident, can you?
When I die, I want you to dress me.
Of course, some people it suits quite well. Some people it suits old Tom going like that.
Shut up, Dennis.
You mean some people?
So the boys will know I died standing pat. Yeah.
We're entitled to a place of our own. Tom's old cottage would suit us nicely.
I don't know so much. Smelt like the monkey house, the way that Dora Nout used to keep it.
Well, I can clean it, Mum. I can, honestly. And then there's the hut and a bit of woodland that goes with it. Terry can use that for his motorbike.
I owe them legs to Tom Nout. He'd use a bloody axe, Tom Nout would, and not give a farthing who he was earning. Let them sodding trees fall anywhere.
And the rector's going to see Mr. Strove about letting us have Tom's place, being as it's one of the Picton cottages.
Oh, Mr. Strove's bound to let you have it.
Bound to, Mum.
Well, you've been local and having walked out for 6 years. Well, we've all got to get up in the morning.
And I only want you using it for your bikes, Terry Fawcett. Thank you very much.
What?
Tom's old hut in the woods. You know what they say about that place, don't you?
No,
Let you in there, did he?
we was never that close.
Glenys? I'm locking up now, Glenys.
I'm 26 years old. When is she going to stop treating me like a child?
When we get Tom Nout's cottage.
So your film, The Greasy Pearl, meant such a lot to me. It's been a very busy life, and it meant such a lot to him.
I'm so pleased.
Would you mind not signing that one? I plan to read it at odd moments standing about in the bookshop. Any good, is it?
A brilliant and savage satire on Hollywood by Britain's funniest and angriest young man. Don't you ever read The Guardian?
Aren't you knocking on a bit for an angry young man?
I don't think so.
17 and 6. Have you got any money on you?
It's worth every penny.
I assume you'll be coming over to the rectory for dinner. I'll tell the parents they'll kill the fatted calf or something. Oh, Henry? Tom Nout's dead.
He is one. Very, very strong.
That's never a photograph of you.
I'm afraid so.
But it isn't the least bit like you. It isn't the least like Henry, is it, Simeon?
Looks like someone else.
Who?
Oh, I really can't remember.
What's it about? Not a whodunit, is it? I do wish you'd write a whodunit. They do awfully well at the library. Nowadays, the library comes round in a van, like milk.
It's a satirical comedy, Mother, about how much Henry hates America.
Do you hate it? Why do you keep on going there, then?
He doesn't keep going there, he keeps coming back.
Anyway, those ghastly film people. Agnes and I were being bored by one at lunch. You know the sort of lunches they have there, 3-story sandwiches and lethal cocktails and iced water.
Iced water? It'd make my teeth ache.
Agnes and I looked at each other in the middle of lunch, and we hit on this scheme by a sort of telepathy. We both went to the loo and climbed out of the window to freedom.
Both?
We walked back to the hotel, laughing all the way. You just don't walk in Hollywood.
Huh?
No one walks in Hollywood.
Oh.
It's a sort of blasphemy.
The poor man who was buying you lunch.
Well, Benjamin K. Bugloss isn't poor at all. He draws the most enormous expenses.
Did he ever speak to you again?
The next morning, he said it was a fun lunch.
He sounds some sort of saint, your Mr. Bugloss.
Well, we'll just have to do without, won't we?
That's it.
All right. Good night, Bob.
Sleep well.
Sleep time. Good thing I brought my own whiskey down. The drink here flows like cement. Do you think our father and the Reverend Mother were getting at me slightly?
You're very perceptive. They get at me a lot more.
Oh? Why's that?
Well, perhaps because I'm here a lot more. Cheers.
Our father's an extraordinary being. Don't you ever get the feeling that he's not connected with us at all?
Tom Nout shot himself. By accident, apparently.
He was a poacher, wasn't he?
No one seems to admit knowing him very well. Or his hut in the woods. You remember how angry our father
No
was
one wants to admit knowing him.
Well, Dr. Salter doesn't. Or Mother. I had an idea.
Well, try not to. You're not used to it.
I had a strange thought that maybe she and Dr. Salter went there together once. Years ago, perhaps.
God, they accuse me of inventing. Me? Writers don't invent. You think Sunset's an invention? I tell you, it's all exactly like that, only more so. Writers. We are the only reliable witnesses. We know about the world, young Frederick. We've got our feet firmly on the ground. But people like you, doctors, lawyers, middle-class, professional men, you go about in a sort of a dream. You live in a world of fantasy. Is it because your lives are so dull you have to invent some mysterious secret about our family?
I don't suppose we'll ever know now.
Now?
Now old Tom's dead.
Shall I give Agnes your love?
How is she?
Motherhood suits her.
Yeah.
She still has that extraordinary ability to make a person feel vaguely corrupt.
I wonder how she manages to do that.
We'll need a fair bit spent on it. The Nouts seem to have lived in a kind of rural slum.
Hartscombe Enterprises will be responsible for all necessary renovations and repairs.
And pay the Strove estate $4 grand for the property.
Including the 5 acres of woodland leased to Tom Nout, with the cottage.
Leslie has the details.
Yeah.
Well, there's only one difficulty.
What's that, Father?
Well, I've had a note from the rector. The Bigwell girls marrying young Fawcett. They've been walking out together for years. Apparently they've been praying for a cottage to become available.
With all due respect to the rector, I wonder if he's really thought this one through. Of course, Glynis Bigwell is a remarkably attractive girl.
What do you mean, Leslie?
I mean, if you did that sort of favor for one particular villager, mightn't it start up old stories again?
Old stories.
I think what Leslie's trying to say is, if I may speak for you, Leslie.
Oh, do, Magnus, please do.
I think all Leslie's trying to say, Father, is that it would be much better if it went to someone outside the neighborhood. That's all you're trying to say, isn't it, Leslie?
That's all, Magnus. Absolutely nothing else.
Get back in the car, kid. He's driving. For goodness sake, use your brake.
The door was open.
Yes, I opened it.
You must have seen the advertisement.
No.
Well, we put a card up in that funny little sell-everything shop in Skirfield. Oh, you know the one. Paraffin lamps all mixed up with butter and bacon and old fly papers. If you didn't see the advertisement, how on earth did you hear?
Everyone knows about it. Now Tom's passed over.
Of course. News travels fast in this little community. Well, we're delighted to see you, however you got here.
Oh, the rector fixed it up.
The Red Rector of Rapston? We haven't touched base with him yet. We hear he's perfectly charming in spite of his funny politics. So, he suggested you came along.
Well, he wrote a letter to Mr. Strove, and I think that'll do the trick.
I must say it's extremely thoughtful of them all. Oh, that's my husband, by the way. Everybody calls him Mally. I do hope you will, too.
Why?
Well, his name's Mallard Green, but everybody at the BBC calls him Mally. We were hoping to have a picnic in the garden, but I think we'd better take it all inside.
Oh. Well, I suppose that's all right.
Thank you.
I mean, I shouldn't really be here myself. Not all signed and sealed yet. But I couldn't resist coming in and making a bit of a start.
It is most tremendously keen of you, and I know we'll get on like a house on fire. I saw your bicycle outside. How many hours do you think you'll be able to get up here?
But I'm going to be here all the time.
All the time? We weren't thinking of anyone living in.
Living? Of course we're living in. Me and Terry. It's going to be our cottage, isn't it?
Mally, come here. I think there's been a tiny bit of a balls up.
I did not come here to be told I cannot do what I like with my own property.
Well, of course you can't.
Not?
You can't turn it into a brothel, for instance, or a torture chamber, or use it as headquarters for armed robbery.
A brothel? It is to be converted by a Mr. and Mrs. Mallard Green, and he works for the television.
Oh, I hadn't thought of any use as immoral as that.
Now, look, Simcox, if I promise not to baptize infants or to preach at the Harvest Festival, if I take my Bible oath never to visit the sick, will you do me a favor? Keep your nose out of politics.
Is it politics to say blessed are the poor?
What you mean is blessed are the inhabitants of Rapstone, for they shall be entitled to live forever on a control rent of £2 a week.
Excuse me, I'll check it out. You must understand, Mr. Strove is entitled to do as he likes with his cottage. From what I understand, it needs a hefty sum to make it habitable. Something you wouldn't be able to afford, I understand. And we wouldn't want to see you in substandard accommodation, would we? In a few years, there'll be the lovely new flats in Westfield. Very suitable. Oh, shit, my records! My records! Mr. Fawcett.
Bloody marvellous, isn't it? Wait another 6 years? What sort of citizen's bloody advice is that, then?
Why don't you let me buy you a drink? Simcock's best bitter.
Yeah. No problem about planning permission to extend the old cottage? No, absolutely not. It's quite different from building anything new. Yeah. And we get a grant for the improvements. So... Don't thank me, Magnus. Thank the Labour government. Okay, cheerio. Not again.
You want sauce on them?
I want sauce on them.
At least serve them out properly.
Why do you have to put them out on a poncy little dish?
Here. I can't imagine what your mother would say if she could see us.
Oh, I can. Mummy would think we'd got dreadfully common. Screw her.
What?
I said screw her.
It's not a thing I'd undertake personally.
What's the matter with you? Suddenly you're starting to make jokes.
I think it's time I told you, Charlotte. We're moving.
We are? Where's the sauce?
Hartscombe Enterprises needs a national base. I thought you might like London. It's absolutely teeming with social problems.
I can't see how I can leave Terry Fawcett.
There's a plan for new flats in Worsfield.
They don't want Worsfield. They want Rapstone. They both grew up in the village. Why should they move to bloody Worsfield?
Upward mobility.
Upper bloody Tower Block, you mean, in about 10 years' time?
Anyway, there's not much I can do about Terry Fawcett yet.
What do you mean, yet?
Well, for that sort of problem, he'd go to his local MP. Napkins. I've
Come to say goodbye. You know we're moving to London.
We've become too small for you.
For the moment. I'll be back.
How's Charlotte? I believe she's devoted to doing good. Which always entails a certain selfishness.
The problem is, Rector, she's turned out a bit of a snob.
Charlotte? A snob?
Of course, she was deprived when she was young.
Deprived? Of love?
Not really. Deprived of fish and chips, bottles of sauce. Now it seems you can't resist them. Charlotte seems set on joining the working classes.
And you seem set on leaving them.
My father always came home from work at the same time. Always said the same thing. Is tea ready, dear? Bottle of sauce always on the table. When it was over, he said the same thing. Very tasty, dear. That was very tasty. A ritual. Like, don't bother the doctor when you felt ill, or it's a blessed release when anybody died. That was what I had to look forward to. Getting the house when they had their blessed release. Taking over the prefect. Getting something tasty for my tea as a reward for being a clerk in the brewery. Falling asleep in front of the fire at exactly 9:30. Waking up with the start at 10:30 saying, I'll lock up, dear. I'm not going back there. Ever.
Look after her.
She may not like it.
Look after her. All the same.
Daddy?
Charlotte.
Daddy?
cottage now it's going to be empty.
Who?
Terry Fawcett in Glennis.
Is that the new feed?
Yes, sir.
Poor Terry. He's been charged with criminal damage to the filing system.
But, Charlie...
It's all been done up. It'll suit them far better than Tom Nout's, really.
Didn't you know?
Know what?
You bought that cottage.
I did.
Leslie bought it. I thought it might give you both a little security. I understand he's selling it now to get a place for you in London. I have an uneasy feeling he made a handsome profit. The sale was through an organization called Hartscombe Enterprises. Really, Charlie? Doesn't your husband tell you anything? Come and feed the pigs.
Because Daddy says it's an eyesore.
Is this an eyesore?
Not only because it's an eyesore, because this wood is meant for, well, you know what it's meant for, don't you?
No.
Wildlife. Homes for the badgers, woodcocks, squirrels.
And the worm.
The worms are caught naturally.
And the woodlice.
And the bluebells. What you don't need here is a horrible broken down sort of bungalow full of old crockery, baked bean tins, and bedsteads.
It is an eyesore, Daddy.
Hooray! Let's burn the eyesore.
Agree. I'm glad you're right. But always. Would you let me? I would rather like to. Thank you.
When you were younger, you felt almost in awe of your father. As time went by?
Well, you know how it is. I suppose I came to resent him. In a way, I began to feel that he was always getting at me. I almost got the feeling sometimes that we were not related.
Not related?
Well, my brother Frederick once had this idea that my mother may have indulged in some sort of... Well, I really don't know what Frederick was driving at. Perhaps that there was some sort of mystery about our birth, his or mine. I really don't know.
We need not speculate, Mr. Henry Simcox, about what your brother was driving at.
No.
Let others speculate, if they feel so inclined. Because if by any chance you or your brother were not the legal children of the deceased rector, we might get the one thing we do not require in this case.
A rational explanation of the last will of Simeon Simcox.
That is the most terrible expression. I tell you what I'd do. I'd go around the hospital wards, stripping off those frowsy bedclothes, and tell the punters to go out and see what a decent day's hunting would do for them. Bed rest, sick rooms, isolation wards. And what is all that except a slow and tedious introduction to death? I tell your patients to keep upright at all costs. Now, teach them to live on their feet. And if they want to die, I mean, get it over. Quickly, in silence, die standing up like a horse.
You know, he's not a lecturer. No, he's a GP.
God help his patients.
There's another thing. Check-ups. That's what you're taught to do nowadays. take hold of the customer by the scruff of the neck and subject him to a minute medical examination in the faint hope of finding some fatal disease. Well, naturally, the poor victim feels embarrassed unless he can produce some sort of interesting complaint in order to entertain the doctor. No. Let us drink to the damnation of bed rest and check up. Let us raise our glasses, gentlemen, and ladies also, to good health, coupled with the name of Dr. Frederick Simcox, soon to be the best part of Salter and Simcox,
Well done, Fred.
witch doctors and medicine men of Hartscombe in the county of... Fred? Tide has gone down in my glass.
Hang on. Did you say partners?
Oh, for God's sake, Cocky, what else do you think I've been waiting for all these long years? I thought you'd never qualify.
Is there a doctor in the house?
Did you invite her?
And did you want to hear? Your moment of triumph?
Fred?
Agnes?
No, Father.
My time.
You got enough to drink?
Momentarily.
Hello, Fred. Is this really where you live?
I, too, was intended for the medical profession. It was my mother's dream. Enjoy.
That's very good of you.
Think nothing of it. You know Mrs. Wickstead, of course.
Yes, we met. I'll open this.
Well, I must say, you've got a wonderful view of the back of Battersea Power Station.
Haven't I?
Congratulations, Fred.
Thank you, Henry. Help yourself to a drink, but don't touch that, it's saltless.
Really get out here. Dull as ditch water.
Excuse me. Sorry. Glad you came.
My father told me to. Warm light ale and soggy crisps. Absolutely my favourite.
You brought Bugloss. I thought Henry insulted him in the wrong side of Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, we did. Bugloss wants to buy it for the movies. The ruder he tries to be, the more Bugloss seems to like it. Must be very depressing for Henry. I suppose I ought to have said congratulations.
Well,
Salter and Simcox. You really merged into him now, haven't you? What does your father say when he marries people? One flesh?
that's absolute rubbish.
No, it's not. He'll do the same things, know the same things. Both be strictly out of bounds as far as I'm concerned.
Agnes! Agnes!
Dr. Simcox.
Ah, Mr. Bugloss.
Look, do me a favor, will you? Get your brother off my back.
He writes about you.
No, not about me, no. He writes about some Hollywood producer, some schmuck. Now, me, he blames now for the Vietnam War.
It is a bit thick. Then he's not even American.
You're not American?
And he was born in Brixton.
Not Brixton. Mrs. Wickstead has been misinformed. I was born in the Commercial Road. You know the Whitechapel area?
Well, not intimately, no.
It has changed. It was once a deeply caring community.
But you speak fluent American.
Well, have to, dear boy. In our business, have to. However else would one get close to the vice president in charge of production at Galaxy International?
I see. Excuse me. Champagne?
Why not? You know, I really can't understand Agnes sometimes.
Sometimes?
She always chooses the most boring man in the room and spends the rest of the evening talking to him.
Aren't you used to her doing that?
No, I am not. Why do you think she does it?
Don't you know her, Henry? She chooses the worst bar, the most horrible meal, the most boring man at the party, and then she can enjoy herself without the fear of being disappointed. Do you think you'll ever manage to do it?
Do what?
Live up to her expectations?
Very funny.
What about some music?
Come on, Fred! Play us the drums.
Apologies to Charlie Parker.
All right.
You do that rather well.
Thank you.
I've never tried a doctor.
What did you say?
Film people, producers and all that. I've tried them. You're something they want to have sitting next to him to impress the vice president. You're meant to smile and say, that's a great idea, Jack. That's all you're meant to say. You get trips, but it's having to smile all the time. The muscles of your face begin to ache.
Do you think I could treat that? Medically?
Ring me sometime, if you want to. I'm not in the directory. 246-8026. Pick up that.
No.
Seems we're going now.
Here's drain the Worthington out of McKinley, and the whiskey fumes are off my brain, off my brain. Get the night nurses out of my bed, boys, and start up the motor again.
Yeah, good night.
Good night,
See you
Donna.
soon.
What do you mean,
Bye.
good night?
Bye.
Huh?
Get in the other side.
What do you mean?
I'm driving you home.
Why?
Because, Dr. Salter, you are pissed out of your mind.
So early in your career, Dr. Simcox, and you have come to a completely accurate diagnosis.
Bye. See you soon. 246-806. No, that's not right. Ah. Two 246-8062. 246-8062. 246-8062. 246-8062.
United Meat Board.
Francesca! It's all right, Agnes. She's down here with me.
And we welcome a new member to our team, Henry Simcox, novelist and film writer. Hello.
You won't bother Granny, will you?
Thank you. Now, can we have our first question, please?
Mrs. Louise Fairburn. Does the team...
In the old days, when people were troubled about the world, they used to ask the priests for advice.
in Southeast Asia?
Thank you, Mrs. Fairbairn. Should we do more to help our American allies in Vietnam? Henry Simcox, I'm sure.
Now it seems they ask novelists.
I think Henry's sincere about Vietnam.
Is he? You attach great importance to that, don't you, Agnes? Sincerity.
Doesn't everyone?
St. Peter was sincere in his devotion to Christ, but he betrayed him 3 times.
I'm not married to St. Peter.
Ah, Francesca, if you were to make a thorough search of my pockets, you might possibly find something to your advantage.
Oh, no, not before lunch. She shouldn't.
Agnes, don't be such a Puritan.
As I say.
The chest feels terribly tightened and aching, and I get this awful feeling of doom.
Are you taking anything for it?
What do you suggest?
I'm not sure I've diagnosed the trouble as yet.
The trouble? Look out there. That's the trouble. It's so green and quiet. And it's always bloody raining.
Well, that's England. I'm afraid we haven't got a cure for that.
He's up at 6 every morning and off to the station. God knows what he gets up to at the television centre. Screwing his secretary, most likely. He's exhausted enough when he comes home, so he picks at his bloody dinner. Well, he probably buys her the entire sweet trolley at Bertorelli's. And then he obliges me by falling asleep in front of the television. Loneliness, Dr. Simcox. I'm dying of creeping loneliness. So, what the hell can you prescribe for that, dear Dr. Simcox?
Nothing, really.
Well, that's a great help.
It's the speciality of our practice, not prescribing anything at all. There is something I could tell you, though.
Well, tell away. I've got nobody else to listen to.
Other people were after this cottage. Local people. They'd waited a long time to get married. I think they wanted it very badly.
You're telling me I ought to be bloody grateful.
Well, here we are then.
Yeah.
You bring the heavy stuff.
Hey?
Bring the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
It's going to take about 6 trips, Glenys, to get all our lot over here.
How long you got the car for?
Eh?
How long you got the car for?
Till 8 o'clock tonight.
That's all right. You can manage
Well, shall I lock the doors?
No, leave it. Come on.
Well, what floor are we on then?
I don't know. 17 or... But the lift's working. Don't know if I can make it up all them stairs. Well, of course it's small. Still, no reason why we can't make it cozy. Once we get some curtains up. I expect they let you put the pram out there. It's a good place to put a pram out. When it's older, it can play down there. There's quite an area of grass down there, Terry. Well, it'll be quite safe playing down there, and I can keep an eye on it from up here, up by the kitchen window. Well, I don't suppose it'd take long to get down in the lift if something happened. Well, so long as the lift wasn't stuck. Make some tea.
Lab test reports.
Oh, yes.
Mrs. Shelley is in the clear.
Oh, that's very good.
Now, this weekend.
Oh, yes, I was going to talk to you about this weekend.
Were you?
I've got... Well, a friend of mine's coming down from London.
I rather think I shall have to go hunting this weekend.
Oh, well, in that case...
Yes, I feel the time has come for a brisk ride to hounds. Oh, don't worry, though, Cock. Young Hardison can look after the shop.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm so glad.
What?
I'm so glad you've come. Oh, sorry. Well, the car's this way. There. Thank you. It hasn't changed. Not really very much since I can remember. A lot of the cottages have been converted, of course. And the summers don't seem so hot. Skirfield's over in that direction. We regard that as foreign country. It's full of rather glum, short people who keep chickens in clapped-out Austin 7s in their back gardens. Well, you know the sort of thing.
No, I don't.
What do you think?
Cold.
Let me show you the church.
Thank you, Bridget.
Morning, Salter.
Oh, good morning, Sir Nicholas.
Going far?
Far as I can.
Well, you've got a good day for it. Did you leave that prescription where I asked you to?
Oh, yes. Pick it up any time you want.
The font's still used for christening. The carving dates back to 1475. The church was built basically in the mid-15th century. Of course, it's changed a lot over the years. When I was a child, I used to sit in here with my father, counting the wafers for communion. What's so funny?
English men,
Why?
once they start going to bed with you, they always take you to look at churches.
What's the matter?
I'm cold.
All right, see what I can do.